Call the meeting to order. And first item of business is to welcome our new member, Nancy?
Christine
Christine
Solomon, yes. Close.
And for the viewing public, we are 4 members tonight. That constitutes a quorum. We will be holding the meeting. Now, on to the minutes from last month.
Make a motion that we accept the January 10th planning board meeting minutes.
I'll second that. Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? The minutes are approved. The next item of business is the use permit for Darrell Richardson up on Bog Road.
His name's Darrell.
Yes,
His name is Darrell.
Excuse me,
Darrell.
I'm not up on the details.
You get that a lot? This is a permit we looked at a while back, and it ended up being tabled with another permit. And as we reviewed this particular use permit, we realized that we could carry forward with this. So when I conferred with Mr. Richardson, we realized his application was not quite complete, and that it didn't have a diagram of the business. We sat down, we hashed it out, and it was included in your packet tonight at your desk. This application is in an appropriate zone. So it's up for consideration for the planning board this evening.
So this is considered,
Go ahead, Christine.
this is considered a retail use?
Correct.
Correct, okay. And it's R3 zone?
Correct.
Now, I only have one page.
This is the part that was added on.
Yeah.
The use
yeah,
permit
was
is a
missing part.
one-page permit.
So
Okay.
with it being retailed, does the fire marshal or fire chief have to make a pass-through where it's,
Where it's an existing building, I do not believe so.
but he's opening up a new shop, I guess. I'm just, you guys know if that's,
I don't know. I always usually defer to the CEO on
Right,
questions
so it
like
was a
that.
building permit at the same site, but it was not for that area.
so there was building permits done there?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this?
It's a good moment to get a plug in for your business.
Just briefly, I'm here with Darrell. I wasn't here for the other times that you guys talked about it, or I was out in the hallway. There's not a lot of guidance in your ordinance about how to grant these or when or not. It's clearly just a retail shop, similar to, I think, not exactly identical, but similar to what's across from, or near where Miller's used to be. I can't remember what you call that. Yeah, they sell the little glass pipes,
Never been in
among
there.
other things.
Okay.
That may be all that he sells. It's not a marijuana store, it's a pipe store. Might be clothing.
Yeah, it's
Might be
like
hats.
You've been to like the Bangor, that store in the mall where they do the tattoos and instead of glass and clothes and hats. It's pretty much what I was going to be doing there, selling like hats, merch, and pipes and grinders and stuff like that. Pretty much it.
Can't think of a reason why it couldn't be granted.
So what is your, Darrell, your, I guess your estimated market size or, number of customers where this is a retail use and just parking, traffic, what do you expect at this point?
The same as usual, really. You know what I mean? I don't really get too much like that, but like it's just, I don't know, honestly. I just wanted to get something that would expand myself.
Right, it certainly.
Get my brand out pretty much.
What's that?
Just to get my brand out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I support that. I'm just wondering about, you know, if you're going to be selling, you know, different, you know, merch, that type of thing, you're going to see an increase in probably what you have now, wouldn't you say?
It's not dropping now.
You're looking to expand, you know, your business. So I'm just wondering if you should be having a more formal parking or more, because I've been to your place before, but more formal parking, you know.
If I do need it, I mean, there's
Yeah.
enough space on my land to make more parking. It's just
Okay.
a phone call.
I think that was a point we discussed
Okay.
that with regards to parking at one of the prior meetings. if I
Typically,
Yeah.
recall
actually, this
correctly.
was some homework I was given, is to figure out what our definitions from parking. We have a chart on parking.
There is.
Came from. I have to admit, I couldn't find the founding document. But, having said that, all the planning documents I did find base parking on the square footage of a retail
Of your
shop.
shop, okay.
So if you have a relatively small shop, you really
You
only
gotta have
require.
parking.
It was like
120
it was like
square feet,
4
yeah.
spots per.
Because my store,
I remember
my
this.
store isn't that big. It's about
Right.
It's half the size of this room.
Yeah,
like
it
10
would
by
all fit in here.
15 probably. Yeah, just
So that's what you're. Yeah. Okay. So what you have right now in that front part is that's what it's going to be. You're just
Yeah.
looking for the permit for the glass. Okay. I didn't know if it was something besides
oh no, it's
bigger
just,
than that.
if you
Okay.
go on that walkway on the other side where I used to dispense my marijuana, that's the new glass store now.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
The,
Yeah. Just for my own satisfaction, I wanted to know that. Thank you.
yeah.
Yep.
For us on the board.
I just-
it originally landed on us right at the same time as the brand new state bylaw. And we were, okay, how does this all fit?
Right. Yep. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Do we need a formal vote?
I guess
We
I'm
did
just,
really do
I'm
a
still
public-
questioning
formal
the,
Public hearing, did you declare one open?
Did we advertise this as a hearing?
It's in
I
in
believe it
our
was.
agenda as a public hearing.
No, I didn't open it because I didn't realize that. Then I will have to declare the hearing open. You don't have to repeat your comment. They're on record anyway. And I'll declare it closed. And now we need a vote?
I guess I still want my question answered about the fire chief or fire marshal, where it's a storefront. Matt, do you remember if we,
No idea.
I just want to be consistent with other businesses that we've done, and I know that like Safe Alternatives, that was an issue, right? I mean, the fire marshal had to be out there, do a walkthrough.
Have you had anything of that sort? Any inspections or anything at your
Mine was-
location?
State people come inspect me.
You have.
The marijuana people. yeah.
Right.
That wasn't for this particular
No, it was
venture,
for- it was
correct?
for they pretty much took pictures of everything. They went to my grow, to the store, they pretty much, yeah. Took pictures of stuff they didn't really have to, but yeah, they were all deep in there. Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, I haven't had a fire marshal come back in there, or I had, like the electric people come in there to inspect my roads. and
Your
see what I was
electrical-
doing, but other than that, no fire marshal.
Yeah.
I have a way in, way out, back door, front door, from there.
Yeah. Okay. That is a good question.
Where that's an existing envelope, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, you'd know more about it than I would, but
Well, I just remember, like in the daycare, when we did the daycare, there has to be a certain
There's a
thickness
state
between.
requirement for take care
I
of the
just-
fire.
Right.
I just think where it's a storefront,
So and
I mean, when
yeah, where there is electrical,
I don't see.
the lights, and you have grow lights at your establishment.
What you mean, like,
With your growing, you have special lights.
oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
specialized for-
okay.
Yeah.
So is that separated from your retail? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want none of that entwined. in
That's
there.
right.
That's
That's
why
right.
I had it built like this. That's because in the beginning, I was selling the glass pipes and everything. I already have like a tobacco license, retail license, all that stuff. But that's why I want everything separated. I want the weed to be sold in one part. I want
That's
the
right.
glass to be sold in one part. I got the grow in a different building in one part. So it's just
We can make the motion contingent with that, right?
Yeah.
so we don't have this type of complication where everything's tied up. So, you know what I'm saying? So that's my whole
Yep.
goal to separate everything.
Right.
'Cause I don't see any reason why it can't happen. I think that, I just want to be consistent is all,
Okay.
so,
So word your motion contingent
yeah.
on a fire inspection if it's needed. But I want to put a time limit on how long it takes us to find that out,
Yeah.
because
We don't want to hold him up.
You couldn't read anything just then, did you?
Yeah, I didn't see anything that jumped right out at me.
The fire inspections
right.
fall within, when we had a unique rule for daycares and a unique rule for this.
yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking that it's like where it's a store,
Yeah. Because
if it has to be inspected.
in under the, like, the building criteria for a regular site design review, it doesn't necessarily say you need the fire
Well,
marshal, it just.
yeah, no, it says all means of egress and ingress are consistent with NFPA's Life Safety Code 101 and the American Disabilities Act. That's on page 4 of the planning board requirement checklist, so.
I just thought it was a part of our checklist that,
Yeah, this use permit, that's a one-pager.
Okay.
So you see, the
so maybe I'm reading too much into it, maybe I
site
just,
design, it can come in.
okay.
It's
This is just a
probably,
use
yeah.
permit.
I just want to make sure that
Probably
we're
has it all as
consistent.
one,
That's
all
all.
as one, and
Yeah, because I think you're just evaluating the use and not necessarily the site.
yeah. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, and I guess what I was reading comes from the home occupation
Yeah.
application, so
And that's
it's-
not
that's
your-
not applicable to this one, so.
No. Nope, I
I don't
think
see-
we need a motion to just go ahead forward with it. Anyone coming up?
Tells me otherwise.
I can just put it in a motion, Phil.
Okay.
That way they can
Yep.
do the work tomorrow. So I make a motion that we accept the application for Richardson Remedies for the glassware shop at 9 Bog Road, contingent with making sure the life safety codes have to be met,
Yep,
and
we'll-
fire
we'll
marshal.
follow up first thing in the morning.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? I think we beat this one to death. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Somebody's coming to
Thank
my
you.
spot and inspect it pretty much.
Um,
Out here or something.
no, we just see if it
We're
needs,
just-
see if it
We're
needs
just
to
gonna
be
find
done.
out if
It's
there's
a-
any rule. If there is, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we didn't miss anything in fine print or anything like that, so.
Actually, I'll call you either way.
All right, appreciate it.
Either way, one way or the other, we need to sign off on this anyway.
Yeah. Thank you.
You folks all set?
Yeah,
It comes up under new communication.
yeah, the violation of odor issue.
Oh, no, you're looking at those.
Yeah, that was, yeah, that's,
I got the odor. I think we're good, right?
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
See
you.
you.
All right.
Okay.
We have one other public hearing.
We have a public hearing.
Yeah, Miss Golden actually did call today. She sends her regards. She's loading up everything they own, lock, stock, and barrel, and she's heading north, but she can't be here tonight. So they were in the middle of painting over all the 3-year-old Sharpie marks on the wall and
Okay.
packing their stuff.
So are we supposed to be
So-
having a public?
Yes.
Public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we move this public hearing to the next schedule.
She really wanted to push
Second.
this forward because
I have
I have no
some
problem with
further
that.
Well, her
questions.
application
Yeah.
isn't quite complete.
Declare the hearing open in any case.
Yes, let's, oh,
Hearing is open. Anyone?
that was another one. We
Any comment?
included a drawing of the buildings, the
Yep.
streets, names, the north arrow and all that. Her entrance is on to one side where she's got
She's got lots of parking.
There's ample parking, for
she's
sure.
got dedicated parking and she's got parking in
Is
there.
it, but is that gonna be her residence?
Yes.
Okay.
Her realtor is April Karen. I mean, they've done everything but actually trade the deed, so.
Because on her application, she said it was gonna be leased, so, I mean, if we can.
Her parents are buying it.
Okay.
Okay. So they need to be bringing the ingress and egress to ADA compliance, is that correct?
We need to meet life safety standards, yes.
Have they done that?
Don't know.
Which, okay, so these are several questions that we all have that I think would be best answered by Ms. Godin.
I'll
Mrs.
I'll
Godin?
say it in the public hearing forum, I guess, and I'll make a motion that we table this till our next meeting,
Yes.
and have a public hearing then, and that way we can have all these questions answered,
Right.
where she's not here tonight.
We
Well,
should.
Before we make the motion, we have to close the hearing. Now you can make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we table the public hearing for Sonia Godin till our next planning board meeting, and have it at that time when she can be present to discuss the questions that we may have with regards to her application.
Let's second that.
Yeah, there's a whole, page 3 and 4.
Because it wasn't filled out completely.
Yeah,
so-
about-
There's nothing, all this stuff in the checklist that has not been addressed.
So what I think we should do is contact her and there's this planning board requirements checklist.
Right. I don't know if you
You
can
know-
make contact with her, Ken, and make her aware of what's missing in
Yeah, that's page 4, page 3 as well.
Page 3 and
Page
4.
4,
Page
yeah,
3 and
3,
4.
4, yes.
And if we want to go down the checklist real quick, copy of the deed she's yet to receive.
Right, we gotta have that.
That's,
Names and addresses of the abutting landowners, we did send them out, we've got everyone within 500 feet, so that's been done.
And they
Copy of
didn't
the tax
go.
card is in your
Get
packet.
that.
Yep.
Complete set of plans, and graphic scale, we've done that. Again, we didn't do a dimensional drawing, it's a Google map type of thing.
So where's the
That's
graphics?
good.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, based on that, I mean, I think,
Location of outdoor storage, areas, fences, signage, all proposed signage, and exterior lighting.
so, I mean, in the interest of, moving it along for her, because I know she wants to come up and start doing the business, should we make a list of everything that we want? Kind of give a list of what we want from her?
Well, she's gotta be.
Make a little list
Yeah.
for her, so,
Well, I mean,
so that
she's got-
she doesn't come here
she's still
and,
gonna get a copy of the
table
deed.
it again,
Yeah,
or-
I mean, if Ken wants to make contact with her and let her know what we're gonna need in order to proceed, I mean, I think that would, I have no issues
She
with
needs
that.
to answer the questions on page 4,
yeah,
among other things.
That's our checklist.
yeah.
Yeah, but where are we gonna get the answers from? I'm not gonna,
Right.
I'm not gonna assume.
Right, I wanna hear it from her versus, third party.
Yeah, right.
Very good.
I mean, we need to hold everybody to the same standard, I think, so.
Yeah.
So
I
there's a motion.
believe that the applicant should check these things off at the time of application. As,
Yeah,
they're making a
it's-
statement.
It's,
We agree.
Be good
we
for the
need-
applicant to be
Yeah.
here, I guess.
Yeah.
is-
yes.
All right.
So we
you made
need
the
all that
motion. Is
supporting
There was a second by
documentation,
There
Christine.
was a second, we'll vote on the motion to postpone. All in favor?
Yep.
All right. And that for now is dealt with. We're gonna have a busy time next month, because that's also the public hearing for chapter 13 rewrite, is it not?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to set it,
Well, we
what
talked,
we have to do tonight is just set that meeting
yeah,
date.
we talked about setting that meeting, setting it here.
Okay.
Any business?
All right, the next order of business is
So they're not even here.
Dunkin' Donuts.
So we had discussed before that, the site design review for Dunkin' Brands. They've since come back and requested a building permit. We've not yet completed their site design review. The board was adamant that we have a copy of the MDOT transportation plan approval for that same project.
And do we?
Which we do not have in our hand right now.
Can I ask a silly question? Why is it on the agenda?
And
I'm keeping you on the agenda so no one's gonna say that we're holding them up.
okay,
All right.
with regards to the Dunkin' Donuts thing, where it's appeared on the agenda for the past 4 meetings, I'd like to make a motion that we table this till they have a completed packet, including the purchase and sale agreement, the MDOT permit. It's been completed and approved by the state, and it'll meet everything under our existing ordinances.
That was a motion.
That's my motion, yes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? I think it's a really good idea. We keep putting it on the table and we keep making no progress.
And with regards to that, just as a side note, I had communication with Ray DeMerchant, who is the regional traffic engineer from MDOT. Touched base with him last week, and he said that they'd had a conference call with him, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday. They expressed their concerns with regards to some of the bypass, with regards to the drive-through, the egress and ingress. He noted to me that the concerns have been recognized. It's just a matter of trying to find solutions, that it's not going to be an easy task on the small site that they have to work with. So I think given their space restrictions, it's going to dictate a lot of what's going to happen with that particular project.
So there's no negotiating.
So, when they do this plan, the engineers, is there anybody local that's, maybe giving any input, like from the planning perspective?
It's MDOT.
What about
We have given
Northern
them
Maine
a good
development person or somebody that, or
If they-
BRSA?
If they don't want to ask those people.
That's not
Right.
their, but if they want to have it come into compliance.
Right.
If they want their site
Well, they've got
design
their own
review to be
engineering firm.
approved.
They got their own engineering firm. It doesn't happen to be.
Right, but can we request that we have a local person that knows about Tim Horton's situation or some other situation in town? Can we request that they have some type of input on that with the engineering plan instead of them coming, bouncing it back and forth?
Well, because they
You know,
Go ahead.
if I'm correct, they met, 3 years ago now? Would have been late 2016 with Austin and others with regards to that site, if I remember what the notes had said from their preliminary meeting. And then there was that laundry list that was provided, I think, at our November meeting for their concerns.
Yes.
That same site?
Same site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some planning boards have the means to bring in their own engineer to review plans. But that means we have a budget for that, and we don't.
Well, right.
So it hasn't been done.
I'm just wondering if any thought has been given to that. I don't know the whole history of it, but just from the outside.
Put more thought into the transportation plan.
Okay, yeah,
You know, because as
That's
I
our
said,
concern.
That's what's holding it up.
Yeah.
as I said out of the gate with this particular project, if they don't have an MDOT permit,
Yeah.
they don't have jobs.
well, I mean, is that something that we could request of them, is that they have like maybe a workshop, a planning board workshop, or some type of public hearing, or something that might facilitate communication between us and the engineering plan, instead of them spending money and,
Well, the engineers,
taking the
we've
time.
given
Excuse
them
me?
our inputs.
Yeah.
We have given our inputs to the engineers more
Okay.
than once.
And what has that been, though? That's what I guess,
Yeah, we at our November meeting,
why don't they like it? You know,
They don't have room to do what we want to do.
they're working with their finite area, trying to make.
yeah.
We think they're going to have a serious problem with
Yes, I
parking
agree.
and vehicle
agree.
movement on site.
And
But
and that was one of the things I noted when it came back.
And they
for
know
the-
we
for
have
the
problems.
January meeting, or the December meeting, that based on our criteria in our ordinance book, that when they have that truck at the order window, if there's a truck waiting to pull in to get in front of that guy to go pick up his stuff, that impedes traffic flow. which is in violation of the traffic circulation
Right.
for
When is the last time there's been a representative from their architectural engineering firm
November.
to a meeting here?
November when they presented it.
November, okay.
Yep.
And at that time.
And
they
was
went
this an
down-
issue at that?
They went
Yeah,
down our
it was
laundry
discussed.
list, and he should have left knowing that we were concerned about the transportation, because we.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
it
if
was
he
pretty
didn't, then,
plain.
you know, the onus was on him, because I'm pretty sure I stamped my feet a couple times with regards to
Right.
that, so.
So they're kind of communicating with MDOT now on that? or-
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So, I don't think we can do any more.
Yep.
So we're gonna table that portion.
Yeah, table that till they have all their ducks in a row.
I don't see anything in my package for the site design review for Caribou Senior Living.
That's because it was not forthcoming.
Okay, so that's off the agenda.
Again, I spoke to the architect face to face, actually, all the primaries were in the room. They said we'd have it. You know, I get it, it snowed, it's tough, and they're trying to push a project forward, but we still don't have a final set of drawings in front of us. This one's a little bit different in that they requested their building permit first. And so we went down through the work to do a building permit for them, which I've got sitting on my table unsigned because we didn't do a site design review.
How much are they changing the exterior layout of the building?
I get the feeling it's not finalized yet, but they're doing a lot of facade work to make it look like a series of homes. Very nice.
Yeah, based on, yeah, they had a
It'd be great
3D
project.
rendition, I think,
Yeah.
in the November packet or December
Yeah,
packet.
I saw something, it looks,
Yeah.
Are they gonna be making significant changes to the parking area?
They're gonna be making a parking area right now, what is it, school bus delivery?
Yep.
So they'll be making changes to that approach, there'll be parking, there'll be parking where the existing parking is now,
Because-
but it'll be,
Because we don't have much to say about what they do inside those walls. We really only have to do with, does their parking lot work?
Yep.
Is the landscaping amenable to the neighborhood?
the comments we got
Well,
from our
actually-
safety officer, Chief Susi, were egress related, emergency vehicle related. We did have some ADA questions.
Okay.
So, a lot of the egress was meant to go through windows.
Oops.
In talking, we had a really great conversation, actually. I went up there with my building official, Tony Michaud, and we had a nice conversation. What they plan on doing is use the windows as a means of egress, but the doors, because each unit will have an exterior door, but it won't be swinging towards the egress, so you can't count it as egress in an emergency. And they're doing that because if there's snow there, they wouldn't be able to open the door.
Mhm. There's no snow on that
As
hill.
we
So
know
they
right
would-
now.
They would feel they're trapped, they wouldn't be able to get out.
that's right.
Yeah.
So the door swing will be in, so they could at least leave through the door,
Mm,
but the windows will count as a means of egress.
yeah.
So, interesting conversation, but we still don't have set plans for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's that.
So we, just to get up, sort of maybe up to speed, have we seen anything, drawings or anything from them?
Yes. they
We
sent
have
out-
in the past,
there was
okay.
preliminary set of
When-
drawings early on.
When would that?
There was some October, November, I think. If you,
Okay.
if you look online in the packet. it
That's
should-
what I was gonna
it
say,
should
yeah.
have them in there, Christine.
October, November, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're basically taking 2 classrooms and making 1.5 apartments.
Mhm.
So every second room is gonna be a half of,
So they're gonna have 38 units total.
Yep.
I believe it's 38. All one-bedroom units. And some of them will be more efficiency, some of them will have a little bit more space. There'll be a large activity area, which is currently the gym, so a common area.
They're gonna be have to
Laundry.
do a lot of digging up of the concrete floors.
lots and lots
To
of
put the
it.
plumbing.
There'll be lots of plumbing.
Yeah.
Because now we're having apartments. lots of tubs and showers, and dishwashers,
Sawing and chiseling concrete out.
Yep.
Yep.
and that was one of
Get
the,
the tile that's in there.
because the sewer main runs for a long distance underground to the street below. Whether or not that main sewer was large enough to accept all.
Right.
So, something we were looking at, we were there that day.
So
Thank you.
they've got some work to do yet. Okay, now the next thing I find in my packet is all kinds of red markings on the flood hazard area regulations.
Okay, let's attack these couple next things in new communications. So we're gonna table the building permit for Duncan Brands Inc.
Yes. Pursuant to my motion for item 4A.
Okay, second in the new
Oh,
communications.
I'm sorry.
We've had a complaint, and it's kind of an ongoing issue with livestock. Earlier this year, or in 2018 during the spring, there was an issue with chickens running amok. They were everywhere. They were not staying on the land where they should have
Free range.
been. Actually, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the free range chickens. Yeah, but that's not a law.
On your property, on your own property.
So, a notice of violation was extended out just about the same time this gentleman was incarcerated for other issues. I don't think the issue was ever really truly resolved, but it faded away until just recently. We have another neighbor complaining about animal cruelty. So he's saying his other farm yard animals, there's some goats, turkeys, ducks, chickens, aren't being taken care of well. So between myself and Chief Cahagan, actually Chief Cahagan made contact with the state of Maine animal welfare people. They went out, and what they found were well taken care of animals, because this neighbor that complained has been feeding the animals. So it's like, well, yeah, as near as she can tell, when she goes and sees, she's seeing animals that are fat and happy and
Right.
doing okay. Yeah, there's manure, but there's also fresh straw. So that's just been an interesting side to try to chase that down, whether or not to do another notice of violation or not. The animal welfare people did give them a listing, dated listing of things they needed to accomplish. For instance, they have several dogs, and none of them are licensed. So the city can go after them for not having licensed dogs. The state person gave them a deadline of April 4th to get these dogs licensed, because they had to get their tax return in order to be able to afford to license their dogs. Also, she gave them a deadline to get the goats' hoofs sheared. Their toenails were getting long. And a June 1st deadline to clean up all the old manure from the season. Take care of their animal housing. So, just little odds and ends stuff that we get to take care of here.
So has there been something done by the planning board in the past? I'm sorry, I keep asking
No, this is more or
historical
less,
questions.
I just
but-
try to.
This is
give you
just
an
the
idea
code
what
enforcement guy telling us what-
Okay,
to
okay.
talk about.
Yes, okay.
We really don't
Well-
have any jurisdiction over here.
Well, I mean, there are certain ordinances.
Yes.
Are they violating any at this?
I did a drive-by last week, and what I saw were healthy animals. They were well within the person's property. There were no dead or dying chickens flopped over in the snow.
Yeah, it seems.
That's right, those ones over the hauled away.
Okay, thank you.
So we've had a couple complaints about people feeling that they are in substandard housing.
Right there, right before you address this.
My initial comment was, do you really ought to talk to your landlord about these issues? The lady today, I did follow up with a call to the property maintenance people. She's been away from her house for a couple weeks the furnace quit. There's actually water coming in to the trailer where she rents, so it was all frozen up on the inside. And so I talked to a gentleman down in Scarborough. He said they're aware of the situation. They've ordered parts to rebuild the furnace, and they're gonna offer her free housing. So I called back and talked to the lady, and I encouraged her to keep up with the conversation because she's got options here. And this is an area we get every now and again where people want to call and make the city the bad guy. But what can happen is it can come back on you and you can be out of the house. So first thing we want to do is make sure the person's safe. Next thing we want to do is make sure that they're going to have a house over their head. And then if we have to swing the hammer at Thor, the landowner, we'll do that as well. So, lots of times, yeah, there's not much we can do. So that's the inquiry and ongoing animal cruelty.
Could the building over behind the rec center get taken down?
It's scheduled to be demolished. I've got the
Oh, it's still
contractor all
scheduled.
signed up. He's given us a price. We said, okay, go. And then it started snowing. It hasn't stopped.
Okay. You've done what you can.
And the same at Birdseye is kind of, the demolition at Birdseye is at a standstill. Most everything has been taken down except for two fuel silo standpipes, the old smokestack from the boiler house, and the big digester concrete structure. We've hired a scrap metal people to come recycle the metals. Basically, our contractors pounded off all the concrete and piled up all the separated metals in piles. We've got some interest in those standing pipes. Parks and Rec think they can make culverts out of them for snowmobile trails.
Great.
Get some value out of this stuff.
Smart.
So everything is all about scheduling, and apparently when they can get out of their front end loaders and back in their excavators, finish tearing that down. By contract, they have to have everything tore down to ground level. The slabs will remain. Anything under the ground will remain until further projects.
Brownfield site.
Yep.
Exactly.
Good just to see the eyesore gone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a report. We've also been working on some CDBG grants, letters of intent, with kind of mixed results. We had to drop early. We received a notice. Now, I'll preface to say that when you're going into a community block grant situation, you usually have a year-long planning before you get the notice that, okay, you need to do your letter of intent. We got our notice that they were going for letters of intent, and we jumped in, kind of a short circuit of the whole process. So we had no time. There was a downtown redevelopment one. We had no time to react. There was a micro enterprise one. We thought we had a couple businesses that were interested. In the end, oddly enough, the jobs that were going to be created were not LMI, and the clientele were not LMI, so they were just not good fits. Those letters of intent would have had to been done last Friday.
LMI, help me out
Low and moderate income.
Okay.
So the next round, the letters of intent are due in March, and this will be for public service. And the group in town that's doing the age-friendly initiative, Bill Flagg and the people from Cary are heading it up. And they're looking to do a transportation type project. So in addition to the arts bus that travels around, maybe we could have a locally, a bus or a vehicle locally to do dashes to town, get people in and out, and then do a volunteer drop rides for people that live in the outer areas. So this it really models after projects downstate and successful models. And it's a good initiative because people in this weather, they're trapped and they're isolating, especially our elderly community. we'll move forward on that. In the last one, I'll throw it right out there, we've actually nominated a business startup in town for Business of the Year for the Stewart's Daycare and Preschool. A note went out, it came across my desk, and I thought, you know what, we've got an innovative business right here in town. It's provided us an anchor in the downtown area that we haven't had for a long time. They put a lot of people to work, and there's very real need for it. So we submitted Jordan Rosendahl's name.
Thank you. Good.
Now we can go to the red line copy.
Oh, goody.
So we're hoping to send the floodplain ordinance to council. Basically, we compared our original ordinance to the state update that was handed us. We're able to make the changes in language, and just today, actually, the manager was in my office, and we were looking at a couple typos and things that needed to be defined. But we're ready to send it forward. That was the wish of the last meeting, right?
Okay.
I believe it was.
So there were small things like the 150 times it says City of Caribou. Generally, you would just say City of Caribou once, and then after that, the city is meant to mean the City of Caribou.
Yeah.
Just little formatting, things like that the manager is really sharp on picking up.
So this is going to council for vetting, is that it?
They won't get the red line.
Do you need a motion
They'll
for
get the
that?
final
or-
ordinance. No, this is just an
Okay.
update for us. I just wanted to let you know that we're moving forward. with
Good.
this.
Yeah, okay.
That's crazy.
Great.
That's a lot of work.
The update on the moratorium considering owner-operated services related to medical marijuana caregiving. We collected a bunch of sample ordinances from all over the state. Everyone's dealing with this all at the same time. As you said earlier, we found out December 13th that the rules had changed on us. Everyone was kind of caught unaware, oh, we're going to do this now. So there's a moratorium, it's an emergency moratorium ordinance for 60 days.
Is it 60 or 90?
As an emergency ordinance,
You can only do 60.
it was 60.
Okay.
But I think it could be subject to be extended,
Yep.
I believe. And a couple things to think about is that, one, if we're going to opt in, and we do have options here as a municipality, we can opt in or opt out. So if we opt out, it's a prohibition, no more startups. So the businesses here would be grandfathered, they'd be good to go. If we opt in, we have a chance to regulate, so we can make sure the zoning's correct. We can make sure that the distances for the neighbors, so that hope to offset some of those odor issues. An odor plan, for instance, could be involved. Some way to handle the air, maybe a carbon filter, something like that. So in the meantime, the pot grows thicker because we have an interest in the new startup. A registered medical caregiver is interested in a building here in town. We'll have to do an operation similar to what Norrell Richardson's is doing. More straightforward, not as convoluted, maybe, but
What do you mean by in town?
in the city limits. Not in town. It's actually in the correct zone. This building is actually away from neighbors.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
It's a pretty good fit if we opt in. If we opt out,
Right.
we're turning away a business.
So okay, so this moratorium, is it the City of Caribou that has done this, or is it, okay.
Yep.
And so, who ultimately, is it something that the planning board is going to decide, or the city council decides?
We would
Or
propose it and then the council
we
would
pro-
approve or
okay.
disapprove.
So,
It will have input because we'll have some verbiage in our code.
is there some type of is there some type of opt-in regulation and opt-out regulation that we can look at?
Yes, I actually didn't look, personally, I didn't look at the opt-out situation. I looked
Yeah.
at, okay, oh my, we're gonna have to come up with some verbiage for our code book. So I looked at the opt-in stuff,
Yeah.
thinking that, okay, we're
This
gonna
is
we're gonna
really-
accept these new businesses, what do we do? I collected sample ordinances from here to,
Right.
you know, I looked in the Midwest, I looked in central Canada. But the ones I used were all from Maine. You know, I tried to get towns of all the same size and situation. And we were able to come up with some sample verbiage for an ordinance that the manager's got on his desk.
I don't know, it's just
A lot to think about.
Colorado's still fighting, I mean, they're still having hard times with us, I mean, it's.
There are lawsuits from here
California too.
Yeah.
to California and in Manitoba and across Canada.
Right.
There wasn't enough.
So you said
guidance.
if we opt out, those who are already here are grandfathered. If we opt
Correct.
in,
But there
right,
are problems in the language that says we're not supposed to be able to regulate the amount of dispensaries. But if we opt out, we're not gonna allow them to come to town.
right.
So there's some conflicting
Yeah.
language.
So when does this emergency ordinance expire?
Only about 40 days.
Okay.
What was
40
that?
days.
2 meetings ago?
Okay.
That's fine too, yeah.
So what's our job in the meantime?
We have to wait and see for a minute.
Okay.
And,
Can you look at options for the opt-out as well? I mean, I would
I
rather
will
be,
now.
I would rather be informed and see both sides of it versus, you know, just being waylaid with one side.
Well, late in the day, I was confronted with the opt-out version. It's like, oh my, okay. So I went and looked, and sure enough, you're supposed to be able to say, no, we're not gonna allow any new businesses.
Right.
However, again, I'm seeing conflicting language. So we can't regulate how many dispensaries there are, but we're saying, well, no, there can't be any dispensaries. Well, that's an issue. So I will go back.
So
and-
this is a main legal
Yeah.
guidance.
It's a mess.
It's a bag of worms passed by the legislature.
If they would have
Right.
thought through this before they just.
Well, the first time out, it was even tougher to handle than this
The
one.
biggest problem was is that the first time it got addressed, it was handled by the Department of Health and Human Services, and it wasn't regulated by any other oversight, so.
Well, they need to spend money to make the rules.
Well,
Yeah.
and
We've been waiting for
So
that for 2
this-
years.
it's-
according to the federal government, it's still legal.
And
The
So-
sec- the
There's-
second
there's
attempt,
issues
which
here.
this
Yes.
represents, made an attempt to put some teeth in local control. First time out, there was no local control.
for sure.
So now they're saying, yeah, you can have local control, but you've only got this amount of time to implement
Right.
it.
And plus, if we're making any decisions and then something federal comes back upon, it could be.
That's kind of why we're dragging our feet.
Nothing's gonna happen federally
Yeah.
for a long time.
But on the good
Well,
side,
yes,
on the
but-
good side is we're a good company because just about every community has a moratorium now.
that's
We're all
right.
trying to get to
We're
that
not the
same.
only.
I mean, and those people that, if you talk to anybody with regards to
Yeah,
which way people are leaning,
just this afternoon,
Just
I talked
a similar
to
sense of
the
support.
code enforcement in Holton, Kevin Tingley, and they're trying to decide, the council has, whether to just say, okay, we're gonna opt in, or if they're gonna send it to referendum. We'll let the voting public figure out whether to opt in or opt out.
Because didn't Holton vote to be,
to allow retail
to
sales.
allow it, and then now they've backed out and they've.
Yeah, I thought they had approved retail sales.
Yeah.
And I had this person confront me with that today, saying, well, you're gonna set yourself up for lawsuits. It's like, well, no, that's not right, and he didn't have his facts quite in order. In that, yes, they did initially, they were looking at, I don't think it was flat out retail, it was like social clubs or something like that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And people came out in droves against it, and so they repealed it really
Yep.
quickly.
That's what I remember.
You know, the other, and
I just saw something recently about
with like social clubs, I mean.
social clubs
you-
aren't allowed to sell the stuff.
Right, they're not allowed to sell, but even in social
You can
clubs,
provide
you can't smoke.
place.
You know, given the state ordinance for tobacco, it's gonna fall in the same line.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy
just,
stuff.
it's,
But
it's
they
messy no
have,
matter how you look at
in
it.
Holton, they do have registered caregivers, that they do have cultivation sites, they're going through the same stuff. going.
Yeah, if we could get some language on both sides, I think that would be very beneficial.
We'll work on it for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, then the chapter 13. I'll remember chapter 13. Well, actually got a red line copy of it as well. Now, it's a large document. We can try to print the whole thing. for
No,
you.
we don't want to keep printing that.
But, so, what we do need to set up a public hearing, I think, on our side, to accept those changes we made, that we propose to make in chapter 13.
I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Well, we can quit kicking that can down the road.
So should we look at that one, the we did a marijuana section in there, didn't we? Should we look at that before we
No,
pull the
let's-
trigger?
Let's look at it afterwards, after we figure out what we're gonna do
Because
with
that was,
everything else.
God, that was 2 years ago now.
That was with the whole safe alternatives thing. Whether we were gonna allow or disallow any other dispensaries or anything like that, which I think we found that we could rate. I mean, based on the person who was sitting where you were at that time, I think gave us some direction that we could say, yeah.
You
allow
could
this one.
limit too, yeah.
Yeah. Or
At
we
the time,
can,
you could.
right,
But They
But then-
changed the
But the
law.
law changed.
right,
At the time, you could regulate, there was only gonna be 8 in the state, and we had one.
right.
But now, it's unlimited.
It's
There's nothing to
different
regulate
now,
how many
yeah, the fifth, yeah.
dispensaries there's gonna be.
Yeah.
Well, there's dispensaries and then there's caregivers. There's two separate.
Right, the
operations.
caregivers.
But it's all gonna be, they're gonna lump it all under one umbrella. I just gotta.
So you get a
that's where
registered
it's gonna go.
caregiver, in fact, becomes a dispensary.
Right,
That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
because that's what they've been doing.
to their
Registered
certain,
caregivers
well,
were
basically, that's what
orders
they have to
there.
do, yeah.
So if we say we're going to have a public hearing on chapter 13 in March, what do we have to show the public? What can they come in and look at
Well,
prior to the hearing?
we can show them the red line document. They wanna see that the whole thing is entirety.
Some people probably will. Because this is a pretty big change.
Well, and it's public information. We really have to make that available.
Yep.
So are these, on this 60 parking spaces by land use zoning map, are those the things?
That was kind of my
That
homework,
were-
so I wouldn't forget.
Okay. So what
So
are
the
the
red line
things that have
copy's been created.
changed?
The parking spaces, I could not find the founding document. What I did find was the American Planning Association has a chart, and you can look and find some parking spots for,
X amount of parking spots based on,
but it's different for every town.
right,
So it goes back to square footage for the building. It's 3.5 for a
Yeah.
church
It's
per
certain-
seat, and it's like, well, for how many seats? And so really, whatever happened there, it was adjusted for a population of our size and rounded up, because there was like 2.1 parking spots for this.
right, it got rounded up to
Yeah.
3 or whatever.
So I looked at American Planning Association, I looked at ADA, those are the ones that pop up. There's 1,000 that pop up when you ask for this information. In every town, in city and state of Maine, different, a little bit different.
And I don't think we've had any issues, I mean,
No, I didn't, when we looked at
Sans-
that,
Sans
haven't
the
given up
apartment
on that.
building, but,
no, but when we looked at that a month ago, I didn't see anything jumping out saying,
Yeah.
oh, we have to fix this.
I haven't given up on it because it was based on something.
Right.
Right.
Well, I remember when I was on the planning board before, I think it was the new church on Summer Street, the new building that they built.
yep,
And that we used it was the Caribou ordinance, there was a formula.
yeah. These X amount of spots.
And we
based
don't
on
have
this.
that anymore because of the Uniform Building Code, correct? That is all gone.
We're still using the same.
We're still
chart.
using, yeah, we're still using the same parking criteria.
And it was
So-
one car
Yeah,
for
but
every
you-
3.5 seats.
But we
or
can't
something
find
like
that?
I can't find the founding document.
Oh, okay.
So where did they get that
Originated.
information?
Yeah, what's the reference?
So, and when you search for parking now, what you get is ADA.
Yep.
So, yes, we have to consider ADA, but that doesn't consider the whole population.
Oh, I see. Okay,
I would
I'm
say
still
that-
looking, I won't give up, I'll find it.
But
so that's still,
there's got to be something that we're going to say
Yeah.
at the hearing next month, this is what we're proposing.
Right. Right, and the last thing I think we probably should handle separately is the official zoning map.
You think we should have two hearings? One
Well-
for chapter 13 and one for the zoning
Well,
map?
we've had one for floodplain. I don't want to present the council with an information package like that all at once.
It's good for him. He can pay for it.
I don't
Do it.
understand how they can make a decision on half of it without
Right,
considering the other
they
half.
can't, we can't give them chapter 13 without having the zoning map that corresponds with it.
Because
I
it's part
I
of
think
it.
we give it to them as one lump sum.
You want to do the whole thing?
Yep.
Don't have a choice. I don't think, it doesn't make any sense to
We-
talk
we-
about
We've held
half
off
the
on
issue.
sending it up to them for too long now. Yeah,
Well, we'll have to
They can do a
include-
little bit of work.
It's 2019.
That's right,
We'll have to include the official zoning map in the public hearing
yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yep.
next time.
Yep, for
And
340.
they might have to take some time to
We'll put it on,
go
put the
through
onus
it
on
and
them.
pass it, but at least it gets it off.
Yeah, because
Mark
if they
Mark
refuse
Barber.
it and then, because they want changes to certain areas, then, I mean, we're gonna be back to,
Right.
Right to square one.
so.
Well, one and a half.
I agree, I think it needs to all go to them.
I mean, that was,
They have
I think that was
everything.
part of our biggest struggle is that we've done our zoning map initially, and then we went to mold everything around it, and then we got detoured by changes and ended up reverting back to some of that stuff that was, you know, 3/14, March 14th.
14, yep.
4 weeks from today. And the other things pending for that night would be the, possibly this beauty salon.
Yep.
At least a beauty salon,
Yeah.
really.
And maybe a site design review for Caribou Senior Living.
Yeah, and based on level of importance, I think we should, well, combination of simplicity and importance, I think we should get rid of the beauty spa first.
You take care of the smaller items,
Because it
top of
shouldn't
the
be an
agenda,
issue.
and then
And then, I don't know, I don't have a good feeling for how complicated the senior living center is gonna be.
yeah, I think if we take care of, beauty salon, senior living, and then go to the public hearing with regards to chapter 13.
Okay.
Because that, I have a feeling that of those three topics, that one is probably gonna, if there's gonna be any
Yep.
amount of discussion, that's probably gonna have the largest amount of
Yeah,
it.
I agree. So bring your canteens and your
Yeah,
snack
I'm gonna
bags.
bring
Or
a
the other thing is, do we want to break the site design reviews out and do that workshop so we don't have to do anything else? We can do that, but we don't have to decide that right now. I'm just
Do a
thinking,
workshop on the senior living
because it's going to be,
if we get
it's
it.
going to be an emergency all of a sudden.
That's
And
not
we
our
gotta get
fault.
us our stuff. And
It's
it's like,
okay.
well,
It's not our fault, Ken.
okay.
Their lack of planning doesn't
Can
make it
you
our
do that?
priority.
Can you do that as a,
Site design review, I think we can.
as a workshop?
Yeah, but I don't want,
I think we get,
I don't wanna set a
have
precedent.
it presented to us at a meeting, and then if we want to do a workshop, we can do a workshop.
We don't even have to call it a
But
workshop, we can
who's
call
gonna
it a
say we're
special
gonna
planning
get
Yeah,
it?
we
board.
could, yeah, we could call it a
Yeah.
special meeting, but I don't wanna set a precedent saying, hey, we're gonna do this because you wanna get it done.
No.
You had time to get it at the meeting, you've had it for X amount of time.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be business friendly, and
But when we get it-
I'm for helping somebody
I
out.
understand
Yeah.
that, but they've had it, I mean, they came to us in November. And it's,
Yeah. And
I
the other end of that
understand
is-
there's a short building season and we wanna be business friendly, but because of their lack of planning doesn't make it a priority for us.
These projects aren't small in scope. I mean, if we're gonna pour through a whole set of drawings like that, it could be a long evening.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I
What we
would-
signed up to do.
I would say, once we get it, at a meeting such as, say we got it tonight, we could move to have a workshop on it,
Or even a special meeting. I'm not opposed to having a special meeting.
or a special
But
meeting.
They've got to present it to us at a regular meeting before we would make the accommodation for a special meeting, I guess.
Makes sense.
That's what I would
Yeah,
say.
and let's keep in mind what we don't have to look at. We do not have to look at all the construction details in the interior of the building.
That's right.
Right.
Because it's outside our purview.
It's not
It's
our
what-
business.
Right, it's whatever falls underneath our checklist that we need to take care of for a site design review for that.
A through Z.
Yep. It's no different than the home occupation one where we have questions and
Some of these other documents, like the ones you sent us, for an engineer, they're fascinating. I love to look through them. but I don't want to take up the board's time at a meeting
Yeah.
Right.
because they're outside of our area of scope.
Very good. We didn't have any planning
Thank you.
board training for the evening.
I think we've learned enough.
Are there any other goals we want to set for ourselves during the course of the year?
You've already got a list
Yeah,
of
Phil,
them.
you got any more goals?
Geez, I don't know.
More
I don't
goals.
know, I got put to the fire there last time, so.
You got the list we talked about, right? It's rather long.
Well, we're hitting the road.
I don't see where we have to keep piling them on.
Nobody did anything.
The only goal I've got is to get to 80.
That's, I'm impressed. No.
I don't have that far to go.
I've been told I gotta hang into 100, so I better start working out.
There you go.
All right, I will entertain a motion to
I'll
adjourn.
move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We're done.
Thanks.